Hi, folks. Sorry to be sluggish today. Um, Juggling some parenting duties, and I didn't think that I was going to run this close to being late, which is to say, actually late. All right. Waiting for the council chambers to join.
Yeah, Bill and I just got out of a Rivers meeting, so he was headed over there to start that up.
He's got it. I see him there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there
And
is,
I think Jake was looking to join in. He was wondering where the link was.
Well,
I'll
here's the
send it
thing.
to him.
Thanks, Joanne. I was unaware, but our minutes, or rather, sorry, our agenda was not posted to the city website. Since it was widely publicized, there are two emails that went out to Front Porch Forum and went out to other places. I am inclined to have the meeting anyway, even though there's a specific part of statute that says it's got to be on the website. I am, however, tired of not being able to have meetings for, procedural reasons. Clearly, people are aware that this meeting is happening. So I'm going to say, and give us a pass this time. And hopefully that we won't run into this kind of a situation in the future. Now, it looks to me like we have a quorum. Trying to see everybody who's there in council chambers, but Art is there and Alan is there, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, we have a quorum then. So at 6:33, a tiny bit late, I will call this meeting of the Transportation and Public Works Committee to order. Now I gotta actually get my agenda because how am I gonna do that? All right, so first up, we have adjustments to the agenda. I am going to add an item under new business. It'll be new number 1 of new business, which is staff has asked us to make our meetings be remote only because it makes there's less burden on operating the the physical venue. And for folks who aren't a member of the committee, could you please mute? I could also figure out how to do it. There we go. Yeah, muted somebody. Cool. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I'm going to add that as a for us to consider having remote only meetings as new business number 1.
By the host.
Okay. All right.
There's a couple other people who need to mute themselves.
I think I
Dave?
got them. Okay. All right. So are there any other adjustments to the agenda? All right. First, next up, item 3, approval of the minutes from April. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at our minutes from last month? Okay, good. I would hear a motion to approve those.
I'll have a motion to approve the minutes from last
All right.
meeting.
Thanks. We have a motion. Have a second. All right, Alan's got his hand up. Sorry, it's only showing half of council chambers. I apologize. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes from April, raise your hand or say aye. All right, I can't see Art, but I assume, and it's quiet over there. Yeah, but okay, I assume that's a yes. No, it'll figure itself out as soon as somebody makes noise, right? So anyway, thank you. That's everyone in favor. So the minutes are approved. Thank you. Next up, we have item number 4, visitors and communications. That is, if there are any members of the public who are here to talk about something that is not on the agenda, and I'm guessing there are. So the way I'd like to handle that is to have people, raise their hand in some way. Then I'll call on them if I, in the way that I can, and then we'll have you state your name for the full name for the record, and then what you're here for. So I see a hand up in council chambers. I'm not sure if there's more than one, but I'd say go ahead.
Hey, Michael, this is Lisa Liotta, and I think I'm the only one here. I just want to say this is kind of weird. This is the first meeting I've attended where I'm speaking mostly to people on Zoom. There's only 4 of us in the chamber. Had I known you all would be on Zoom, I probably would have attended by Zoom. But I live at 28 Orange Street, and I moved with my partner to Orange Street from 27 Camp Street last July. And 27 Camp Street is at the corner of Hill and Camp Streets. It's the large brick house that's kitty corner from the Lincoln House. And I was really disturbed this week to see on social media that the folks who purchased the house from us had a pretty serious accident. I don't know if somebody was coming up Hill Street way too fast, or they turned from Camp onto Hill, but they jumped the curb. They took out about 5 6-foot cedar trees and narrowly missed striking the corner of the house, only because they ran into the new heat pump that the new owners had installed. And I'm guessing probably cost about $15,000 worth of damage. And it was disturbing to me, not only because it just felt bad that the new owners had to deal with that, but also that in the 3 years that we lived at that property, there were significant issues with traffic. And we were there 3 years. I saw 2 telephone poles on Camp Street, both hit with serious accidents. One of them enough to need a replacement of the pole. We heard cars racing way too fast on Hill Street. The average speed is probably in excess of 40 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Squealing tires is a daily occurrence there. There was a day that we didn't hear tires squeal going around corners. That was really unusual. And it's disturbing that nothing has happened. And this is an issue that's been brought to the TAC previously by myself and I think some of my neighbors. But the excess speeds are out of control on that street. One of the things that happens when cars drive 25 miles per hour is you can actually hear your neighbors speak. And our experience living on Camp Street was that we couldn't even have a conversation in our backyard because cars were driving so fast and the noise was so excessive. At one point, I downloaded a decibel reader on my phone, and daily I could record decibels in excess of 90 decibels as cars passed by. And if you know anything about OSHA guidelines, 90 decibels is the rate at which hearing loss begins to occur. And we had Jake brakes, we had modified mufflers, all of which don't occur if you're going 25 miles per hour. But when you're going 40 or more, it's a real problem. And I'm just really concerned that somebody's going to die along that stretch of road. And I certainly hope the city can do something before that happens. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a hand raised on Zoom. I'm guessing Beth, that's what it says on there. All right, yes, go ahead. State your full name first, please.
I'm Beth Hillgartner, and this is my husband, Ernie Drown.
And we
live at 27 Camp. It was our heat pump. So we thought we'd come and see whether we could talk to the city about what you guys can do, because, you know, we bought the house in September. Back in the fall, somebody came around the corner of Hill to Camp and hit with a snowplow attachment on his truck. He hit the pole across from our house and damaged the big, electric,
some
electronic
kind of
junction box. And then he went on down the street and hit another pole. And then, Saturday, well, early Saturday morning, I guess, the what I understand was it was two cars and one car struck the other car and the car that was struck went off the curb and jumped, took out our cedar trees and our heat pump. So anyway, that's why we're here.
Thank you very much. I see a hand up from Ben. Is that right?
Yep, this is Ben Moore.
Go ahead. Yes, thanks.
So I live on 36 Patterson Street, which is also on the corner of Hill. We just right near where the accident is. That is the third or fourth accident I've seen in the 7 years living here. And really it is slowing things down, finding ways to slow things down, whether it's, that Camp and Patterson is, or not Patterson, Camp and Hill is a great place to put a four-way stop, just to slow traffic down so it's not racing to get to a light you're going to wait at anyway. And Camp's a busy street as well. People use Camp. People drive up Hill Street to get to a lot of different places. It's also a nightmare for crossing. It's not anything I've seen as far as people being willing to stop because there's a lack of crosswalks. There's weird breaks in sidewalks. So getting from Hill Street to Patterson, there's no sidewalk you can go on. You have to walk in the road until 2 houses down, the sidewalk starts again. There's no crosswalk. And it's sort of a gamble if anyone's going to wait for you. Going up to Nelson, same thing. There's no crosswalk there. It's painted in. So it's really just hoping someone sees and is willing to wait for you. And the speeds are just not making it safe for people to cross, especially with their dogs. And it's a route for kids to walk to school as well.
Yes, thank you. I see Janelle hand raised. You can go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to some of the committee members who let people know that this meeting was going on and did really good at advertising that this meeting was going on. I think it's great to give us an opportunity to come and speak. I live at 160 Hill Street, so I do live on Hill Street. Pretty much just echoing what a lot of other members have said here is about the excessive speed, the excessive noise, and just generally unsafe driving. In my experience, a lot of it has been, modified trucks, or, sometimes you have a couple teens join riding and they like to burn it up the hill real loud. One of the biggest concerns for me is I'm a parent of 2 young kids in elementary school. My children and I have to cross Hill Street to get to the bus stop. Our bus stop is in front of Beth's house. And on several occasions, I have had very many, more than I would like, near misses of people actually almost hitting me. One time I was crossing the street, getting to the bus stop. Somebody coming up the hill wasn't paying attention or didn't stop. I was already halfway through the crosswalk at that point. I look over, realize they're not slowing down. And so I had to do one of those quick sort of jump, pull my tush in maneuvers to make sure I didn't get hit by the car. And in several occasions when I've been holding both my kids' hand, ready to cross the street where we've got the bus just dropped them off and we're standing there, sometimes I'll have traffic stop 3 ways, like the people coming down Camp and the people going up Hill Street will stop, but a bunch of cars that are halfway up the hill, in a perfect world, it would have been an ideal time to cross, but because I don't know if people are paying attention and their speed is excessive, it makes me nervous, especially with 2 small children, to cross the street. And that person will literally just keep going. And it's very hard to anticipate who's going to stop and who's not. And because people travel so fast, if I walked out there, because they're going 40 miles an hour, they wouldn't even have time. And I'm literally only concerned for my kid at that point. I don't know how I would. My concern is, somebody's going to get killed. And my concern is that it's going to take somebody getting killed for something to happen, which I hope that isn't the case. I think a 4-way stop is a great idea at that intersection because there are literally 3 buses that go that route in the morning, and there's multiple buses that drop off. There are kids walking home from the high school. There's a lot of foot traffic in our neighborhood, and we've had a lot of new families move into the area with small kids. And I think nobody wants to feel like their neighborhood isn't safe for their children to cross the street. My personal opinion is that based on what I've seen, we moved here in 2020. Based on what I've seen here, I don't think that people are going to be able to police themselves on this particular street. I feel like it's just too much of a gamble on whether people are actually going to stop at a stop sign. It may actually cause more accidents, in my opinion. So my personal belief is that something like a speed table or speed hump or a flashing crosswalk sign or something to just get people to slow down, even if they don't necessarily decide to slow down, might be the best way to go. But I don't know. Either way, another thing is that the only speed limit signs are the second that you turn onto Hill Street from Washington. There's a 25-mile-per-hour sign that is no longer reflective at night, by the way. The second that you make that turn. And then the next sign is all the way up on top of the hill. So this little strip, because it's off of one of the main streets, people, I don't know if they just assume this is another main thoroughfare. And so they don't assume that this is a residential neighborhood. Honestly, I have lots of people that have asked me about living here. And one of my biggest reluctance is the speed and the traffic, which I'm a little surprised about sometimes. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for having this meeting, because I think everybody here is here out of concern and just wanting to make our community a little bit safer and better for people to walk around and enjoy the space. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who are interested in giving input during this? This doesn't look like it. So here's what will happen today. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. There's a member of our committee who is also a member of the public. Yes.
May I?
Please go ahead, Joanne. Yes.
May I? So I live in between Ben and Beth and Ernie and across the street from Janelle. And I've lived here for 9 years. And had I known when I bought my house how busy this street really was, we never would have moved here. Hill Street is 44 feet wide, which is wider than the speedway at Thunder Road, and it's wider than the lane on I-89. Cars do go very fast. As Lisa was mentioning, at one point, we had somebody come by, I can't remember who it was, but they had one of those things that actually measures speed, and they were measuring cars consistently going over 40 miles per hour. It's a hill. People come down the hill, there it is right there. People come down the hill and they don't recognize and they don't remember that 25 miles per hour is what the speed limit is. And our crosswalk is invisible, as is the crosswalk up by Nelson Street. So when you do cross the street, you take your life into your own hands. It looks like you're just walking across the street because the sidewalk does not exist anymore. We walked every single day, my husband and I and our dog, and we always cross Hill Street, walk up Hill Street, down Nelson the long way, and we come back down Camp after wandering around the neighborhoods up there for a mile or two, and we have to cross again. And every single time we cross, we spend an inordinate amount of time standing at the side of the road, looking people in the eye as they speed past us while we're at the crosswalk. And the final point that I want to make tonight is that Hill Street is the 8th busiest, most traveled street in the city, coming after downtown Main, North Main, South Main, Vermont Route 62, Washington Street, Summer Street, and Elm Street, all of which are major thoroughfares in the city. Hill Street is a residential street. It comes through this neighborhood in the city and up into Barry Town. I think the majority of the traffic, at least what I've observed of it, is going to Barry Town. Their speed limit at the top of the street is 25, as is ours, but it does move to 35 as you go farther into town. And as Janelle has pointed out, as you're coming down the hill, there's only 1 or 2 speed limit signs, again, at the very top. Where the problem exists is in the strip of Hill Street that runs between Washington and the top of the hill. That's the problem area. That's where the street is too wide. And I forgot to mention that a normal driving lane is 11 feet. So the road should really be 22 feet, and it's twice that width, which is really what encourages people to think that they're on the highway and to go so fast. 2 years ago, when I first joined this committee, I had really high hopes that we would be able to begin to do something to bring the people who drive through the city of Barre to recognize the fact that the speed limit is 25 miles an hour throughout the city, and that we would be able to enforce that and make the changes that needed to be made to our streets, particularly in the residential areas and downtown, to slow the traffic down. And I sit here now in what I hope will be my 3rd year on this committee. And my expectation is that we're finally going to make something happen, because we can't wait until somebody gets killed. Lisa mentioned that the 3 utility poles have all been hit. Her house was hit previously before they lived there. And then this recent accident that's happened to Beth and Ernie, I think really needs to be the catalyst for the city to finally address this issue. And that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I was going to add at the end of comment is that we will not be taking action on this today because it is not an item on our agenda, but it is my intent to put this on the agenda for next month's meeting so that we will have some advisement to give to the city. And my expectation is that we have the time between now and the next meeting to come up with a proposal for what is practicable that we can do at this intersection in order to increase safety. I think it goes without saying that the damage that was done to the house that we were discussing, it could not have happened if cars were traveling at the speed limit or a safe rate of speed. That kind of energy of the cars moving around like that, that is happening at some place where there are highway speeds, and this is not a highway. There have been 2 surveys that I'm aware of, one that was run by the Planning Commission, one that was run by City Council, that asked citizens what are their transportation concerns for the city. And overwhelmingly, the highest concern was speed of vehicles in neighborhoods. Clearly, this is something that we need to take action on. I personally I'm really sick of the contempt with which drivers are treating our residents. Like, you do not have a right to treat us as disposable. And I recognize that there aren't people here who are doing it, but I wanted to express to the people who are here that my feeling about this is that it is far past time to do something about something that is affecting our quality of life, you know, our sense of happiness and satisfaction, and also our property values. Because of course, I mean, if you want to move out, if you feel like you made a mistake moving in, this is not great for you know, our grand list. I didn't mean to move on from this before everyone was done. Erica, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I'm just thinking this is not just, you know, a Camp Street, Hill Street issue. This is all over the city of Barre. I mean, people speed all over the place, and all we hear is, you know, nothing can be done. You know, it's an ongoing issue. And like Joanne, I joined this committee thinking there could be something done about the speed and traffic enforcement in the city of Barre, and to make this safer for the folks of Barre that walk all over the city of Barre, and make this a safer area. Thank you.
Something can be done, definitely. We won't hear it otherwise. Corporal Fry, I was curious if you had anything to add to this. You don't have to by any means, but I figured you're probably intimately aware of what they're talking about, and I thought you might have information that none of us do.
I mean, I can tell you that I probably spend 2 hours a week on Camp Street. There is absolutely a speeding issue there. We're well aware of it. Comes down to a personnel issue. We don't have the personnel to be there 40 to 60 hours a week type deal. But I hear what people are seeing. I spent an hour there today, and stopped a couple speeders, and they were doing over 40. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. So I understand what people are saying, and it's Camp Street going out, past Lincoln House. That's also an issue. It's coming down Hill Street, and I've talked to several residents. They're fine with me sitting in their driveways. I've done that, and you'll occasionally see me with the blue lights out there. So,
Well, I'm sorry.
I don't. Besides doing the enforcement, I don't know what more police wise we can. I maybe putting a speed bump, somewhere in there. I don't know how to, on a hill. That's kind of a little bit of an issue, but that's kind of out of my, but I'll still be making an appearance, on Hill Street on a regular basis. So.
We always give you a thumbs up, by the way, and a mini applause every time we see someone pulled over on Hill Street. My husband says, "Thank you."
Well, I appreciate that, but let's not talk out of turn. I'll call on people who have their hands up, but probably not if they've already spoken, Lisa. So just well, we can come back to it in the next meeting, I think. Yes, Corporal Fry, thank you for what you're doing, and I also recognize that there is a limit to what we have in terms of the manpower available, and there's a limit to what enforcement can achieve. So, thank you. All right, hands, we've got Jake.
Hey, thank you, Chair Alien. I just wanted to echo how much I appreciate the speed enforcement, and I've always noticed that it created an impact while it was there, but it just wasn't a lasting impact because the street is not designed for safety. It's designed using, in my observations, state highway standards and not urban street standards that are appropriate for a residential neighborhood. And no amount of enforcement is going to overcompensate for bad design that's just unsafe for our community. And there've been prior promises and commitments made by the city's administration about different forms of striping or bike paths, and there hasn't been follow through. And I'm really happy to have new leadership, new eyes looking at this issue in the Public Works Department. And I think there needs to be, if there's going to be any lasting change here, there's got to be a design intervention, and it's got to start with something that's low cost and high impact. And that's where I think looking to those proven traffic calming strategies, whether it be flex bollards, different forms of striping. There, in my opinion, there shouldn't be centerline striping on these residential streets. Many roundabouts, stop signs, whatever is proven to be cost effective and works, I think needs to be on the table. And make no mistake, there's going to be a lot of pushback from residents in Berrytown who may have their commute lengthened a little bit. And I think the city decision makers have to understand who their constituents are. Their constituents are people who pay taxes in Berry City. They live in Berry City. And so I think we need to brace ourselves for that pushback and stand up for Berry City residents who make their lives and livelihoods in this community. So I'm excited to see something on the agenda at the next TAC meeting, and a lot of good thinking happening between here and now that would meet appropriate public standards.
Thank you. Yeah, we will get it on there. I think Sally had a hand up first, but I see that your hand is up. Ernie, was it? Am I? Okay, yeah. Sally, please go ahead. I believe you're still muted. All right, we'll move, oh, you got it. All right, there you go.
Okay. This is actually Sally's husband, David, and we're
All right.
Street also. And we're at times, we spend a fair amount of time outside in the summer in our yards, and we're consistently appalled the rate of speed that people come down Camp Street at and up it also. And, you know, we're retired. If we had small children, I would be terrified. And I just think whatever you can do, it's really appalling at how fast people go up and down Camp Street and Hill as well. Those two streets are just terrible.
Yeah,
And-
we also walk our dog on Hill Street and Camp as well. And
There are no sidewalks.
it's
So
very,
this is Sally speaking now, I'm imagining, right? But for the minutes, I'm just trying to make
Okay.
sure that it's clear, you know, that we know who's speaking. Thank you.
right, we have different last names.
Yeah.
But anyway, walking downhill about a week ago, someone was putting in a driveway and I had to walk in the road with the dog. And it was very frightening. You know, at certain times of the day, it's fine, but at other times it's not. And often I am headed out at around 7:30, 7:45 when people are going to work. And at the bottom of Hills at Camp Street, when I'm trying to turn onto Hill, you have to be extremely careful because people are coming down that hill very fast. So yes, I echo David and all of you who've spoken before. If anyone can do anything about this, we will be very supportive and thankful.
Thank you. Ernie?
Somebody in this discussion mentioned stop signs. And I
Oh.
want to just,
Oh, yeah, I'd like to pause for a second. I don't want to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I would hope to not get too into specific solutions at this point, but certainly go ahead.
just want to keep this off the list of proposals. I think a stop sign would be a terrible idea because it sets up the expectation that people will stop. And I don't think they will. I just blow through that sign. So that's really my only point. Put some flowers and planters in the middle of the road, you know, speed bumps, anything, but not a stop sign.
Thank you. I'm sure that we'll be looking at what is the most effective intervention that we can do. So I think, you know, it's a balance of resources. And I know that our Director of Public Works is going to be looking at what, you know, what do we have the resources to be able to do? But certainly we will figure out what we can do to make some difference. I don't think that we can make perfection happen in the near term, but I would love to make, you know, step until we get to the place that we imagine, which is where we don't have people coming to committee meetings. And you are not the first to say that they feel that it is dangerous to be near their street. And how about we make that not happen? Was there anybody else for public comment? All right, I don't see any hands up. I want to thank everyone who came to give input to this committee. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for working to make our city better. We are also going to be working for that. It leaves me heartsick that we've not made enough of an impact yet. I don't want to see that continue.
Am I?
Oh, yes, Art, I'm sorry, you're in the other half of the room and I just, yeah. Art, go ahead, yeah.
The problem is not only Berry City, but Berry Town also. So I think we need to cooperate with Berry Town. At least they can maybe start lowering their speed limits coming into the city or going out. And I think that may help a little bit, but in one spot, it's 40 miles an hour coming down Quarry Street. It goes to 25. I mean, that street's gonna be all done, but it's not gonna be 40 miles an hour on the new road with a sidewalk.
I think, sorry, go ahead.
Other places it's 35 coming into the city. So maybe we can ask them to maybe reduce the speed limit coming to before the city limits. And they can, you know, hopefully the drivers will start doing something about it. Realize it. So.
I think it's a good idea to see what we can do to work with Berrytown. And I think we'll put that in our you know, in our list of things that we can work on. All right, this is going on the agenda for next time. And I imagine that we'll see each other once again at that point. Gonna move on to the next item on our agenda for tonight. We have on here the Department of Public Works monthly transportation report. We have not formalized this as yet, so this might be more notional than an actual agenda item. We're going to work on getting it there in the future. So I think Brian can weigh in to see whether or not we do actually have that. I didn't have it put in the packet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So you can tell me what you can tell me what there is.
It doesn't exist because I did not
Okay.
know we were doing any type of report, but I can give you kind of the overview of what's going on right now with Public Works.
I think that would be useful. Thanks.
The guys are out starting to try to do line striping, but weather like today does not help because the paint doesn't stick. So when we've had this cold weather the last couple of mornings, they haven't been able to get started, but they are out there trying to get the striping back. And I'm sure everyone knows that striping is temporary and it does not last nearly as long as anybody would like it to. So be patient with us. We're trying, but got guys out there patching potholes all day long. We are currently working on River Street and Center Street to get that ready for paving. I believe the contractor could be in there as early as next week to pave those streets. They are going to start finishing the water main on Warren Street and then move to, there's a small section of sewer on Merchant Street that needs to be repaired before those streets get rebuilt and paved this summer. Currently doing a 20-year evaluation at the wastewater plant that is ongoing. And we are looking to move ahead on some water projects for moving into the fall and next year. One project that is going for the water is replacing the transmission line up on 302 coming out of Orange and then that feeds into the city. We have a congressional grant on that one for, I believe, 80% funding. So we'll move ahead with that one. We have a meeting tomorrow to kind of start that process, but that's probably looking at possible construction next year on that project. I think that's kind of been maintenance on everything going on. And I think that's probably about it, what we got going on for Public Works.
Well, it's exciting news about that water line. But now we're getting information about subsurface stuff that I don't know anything about. Great, thank you. The next part of this agenda item is if anything's come up with resident concerns. Obviously, we've learned some of them through people coming for a public comment. But this is the point at which if you'd got some emails or phone calls about stuff that residents were concerned about that we would find out about, we could but sometimes it doesn't happen. There's say nobody called in last month or something.
Really haven't had a lot of potholes are the biggest concern that we've been getting. And the guys have been out there, especially since the paving plants have opened up. They've been usually have 2 guys on the hot box just about every day patching potholes. The only other concerns we've been getting is lawn repair, snowplow damage. And the guys are again on that. Street sweeping, I think the mayor had asked about that, and I filled in the manager on it, but the street sweeping has been delayed a little bit with water main breaks and staff shortages, but I think they're just about completed one round of sweeping through everything, and now they're trying to catch back up. The main thoroughfares get usually swept. They try to do them on Thursday evenings, and then they'll rotate in on the residential streets as needed. But I know the mayor had asked about the street sweeping, so they are pushing that ahead.
Well, that's good to hear. Is C-Click Fix useful at all for, you know, helping to get the visibility into these things, or are people reaching out otherwise?
We don't get much on there. It's, you know, maybe 2 or 3 comments a month, but it's been usually the same type of thing. It's by, you know, lawn damage or a pothole.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I saw on there. I feel
yeah,
like
it really
people don't-
hasn't been a lot there, and, you know, we get maybe 2 or 3 of them a month at the most.
I think maybe people don't know about it as much as they could, but that's a question for another day. Well, great, thank you. In our old business, number 6 on our agenda item, we've got our charge for our committee. So we can adopt that for city council to look at. We tabled that from last time around so that people could have a chance to review it, and Brian could let us know if there was anything that should be altered from that. Yeah, I haven't heard any feedback, so it's the same document as before. So essentially, what we're looking for is a motion to adopt this charge and to submit it to City Council for them to adopt it.
I'll make a motion to adopt the
All right.
committee as written.
There's a motion. Your hand is up, Alan. Okay, second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the charge? I can't see Art, so I'm just say something if your hand is up. So,
No.
all right, cool. Just wanted to double check. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Then all in favor of adopting this charge, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Art. Sorry about that. Yeah, that is everyone. So that motion is passed. You guys are speaking softly. Is that for everyone or? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's yeah, it's especially tough to have crosstalk if there's just just a small group in the room. All right. So yeah, so that motion is passed, and I will get that sent to City Council for them to do whatever they do with stuff like that. They ask for it, so that's why we give it to them. All right, under new business, we have our item that we added, which is, and I'm going to say all the other items out of order now. I probably should have put this one last or something, but oh well, I'll do my best. Which is to move our meetings to be online only. I know there are some people who like being in person. This is an ask that came from, I mean, certainly Brian prefers it to be remote, but Nicholas asked for it to be this way so that you don't have to open City Hall for just this meeting. That's the background.
Are you
No.
looking for a motion, Michael?
Well, we could have a motion. I think we could change it by just like general assent also. I don't think this is a thing where we officially need to change it, but I want to make sure we agree, basically. So we could have a motion. Let's do a motion, sure.
I'll make a motion that we move to have this meeting only remotely.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further, any discussion?
Only thing we'd have to change would be, I imagine, on the agenda, we'd have to put online only, where we
That is
have
correct.
venue options, but I didn't know if there's anything else that we'd have to change for something like that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we just changed we changed what we warn, basically. And I think that you're right, that it has to say explicitly online only, or I forget what the phrase is, but yeah, something like that. All right. Well, and if we approve this, then I will make that change. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Put my hand up too. All right. And Art, I can't see you, but you did not raise your hand? Or did you?
Yes.
Oh, wait, sorry. I asked that in the negative. I apologize.
Yes,
Which,
I did.
okay, you did raise your hand, you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I wish this camera was just like, I know, and like Alan turned it and it turned itself back to Alan. It's, okay, so. All right, I just wanted to make sure that I understood. And the reason I was asking specifically is obviously there's only 5 of us here. So every one of us has to vote in the affirmative to have the motion pass. So, but that was everyone in the affirmative. Is yeah. Wow, it just went back. That owl is crafty. Okay. Yes, thank you. We will meet online, and Nicholas will be very pleased, I think, because he won't be hunting down someone to make sure in this case it was Bill. Thank you, Bill, for making sure that the public was able to have access to the physical location. Oh, hey, there's an owl app where we can lock position. It says a secret commenter who happens to be in charge of IT for City Hall. It's on Trace. I don't even know what that means. All right, Alan, is that something? So yeah, we'll figure it out a different time. That's what I say. Because yeah, anyway. But thank you, Ryan. Okay, all right. Now on to new business. Old number 1, now number 2. I'll just say the old numbers. I'll say the old numbers because we're all looking at an agenda. We know that was the first thing. All right. All right. So this was decision to restore approved digital speed sign locations. The backstory for this one is that we had recommended speed sign locations. The TAC, erstwhile, committee, approved those locations, and then 2 of them moved to different locations, kind of by accident. And at the time, we'd said, let's not worry about it. Moving them and then moving them back is confusing and weird. But we should put them back, or rather, we should either put them back or we should decide that we, want better locations. I put this on the agenda to say, let's just put them back. But obviously that is for the committee to decide. Anybody have anything to, any thoughts on this one?
I'll be honest, I like it. I feel like just having more information out there is always useful.
Oh, I think maybe, oh, wait, sorry. You saw the maps in the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, cool. Sorry to interrupt. I just misunderstood where you were going. Please continue.
No, I just think it's a good idea to keep as much signage out there as we can without keeping the roads cluttered, I suppose. It sounds like that's something we could use on a couple of our more dangerous streets, as it sounds, whether it be just speed signs or even just radars. Anything would seem to be something people would be in favor for. I think it just depends on a utilization of the resources we have with those types of things and getting them out there with the labor shortage we have.
Yeah, I think we're all on board with having the signs out there. I think that they were in sort of optimal positions, except potentially for the one on Prospect Street, but we never reviewed a new location for Prospect Street. And so in the interim, while we figure out what the right location is, I was saying, why don't we put them where they work best instead of where they ended up by accident? And by accident, I don't mean to, I'm paraphrasing what Bill said. What Bill described was that they were not meant to be moved, but the work was done regardless. And that is when I say by accident, that's what I mean to be characterizing.
If I might.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
So I think that's exactly what I was going to say is that the locations that were picked originally and brought to the TAC were based on trying to have an impact on driver speed in the vicinity of some critical characteristic. So on Washington Street, we had a very high-use pedestrian crossing, and it was placed about 350 feet away from that crossing. It was moved out to the edge of, actually very close to the city limit. And that was supposed to be a proposal that the TAC was allowed to look at and decide before the work was executed. I discussed that with my folks in Public Works at that time and asked them to put in anchors in the event that the TAC approved it. They would have been in before the ground froze. They simply tried to accomplish exactly what I asked as fast as possible. And then it was never approved. So the chair's suggestion to put them back where they were is basically reconciling them to the originally approved locations. And something that's in the Public Works budget was the purchase of 4 additional radar speed signs. And those were going to be used on a more temporary basis so that they could be moved to a dangerous location, tried out, and moved around in response to citizen complaints. So I don't think those plans have changed, but I think the staffing shortages have critically affected our ability to do some of those things. So just an explanation of where we were. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Yeah, so that's it. Just saying they moved by accident. Let's put them back until we decide where to put the new signs is basically where it was going. And the Washington Street location by the edge of Berrytown was a position that the TAC did give assent to putting one of the new signs at. So, I mean, the idea there is test to see whether 2 signs in a row is extra effective. We didn't know. In any case, that's the background. If the committee is on board with that or has a feeling about it, there's certainly we can make an advisement. It's up to Public Works whether or not to do it naturally. But I feel like there's probably, I don't want to speak for anyone, actually.
Would this be a motion of advisement towards them then, or?
Exactly. Yeah, it's the idea I was thinking was we would make a motion to say, let's advise Public Works to put the 2 signs that have moved back in the positions that they were supposed to be in until we figured out what to do. So move 2 signs. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll make an appointment towards us saying that.
Wait, are you're making the motion?
Yeah, or
He essentially was saying, so moved.
So moved. Yeah. Cool. All right, Joanne is a second. We have a motion and a second to advise to put these 2 signs that moved back in their original locations for now. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Corporal Fry. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just when you do move the signs, I know we were collecting some data from the signs prior, and like we were talking about speeding up on Prospect Street. The radar was actually pointing into Berrytown at 40 miles per hour. So we're saying all this speed, if we're getting speeds of 40 and a 25, well, it's pointing in Berrytown.
That's part of the reason we want to move this sign.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
That was like after we walked away from that, when we discussed all the stats, I'm like, these stats really don't give a good picture of.
It's possible those stats were from before the sign was moved. I can't remember what stats we got. But yes, the location of the sign right now does not collect anyone who is within our well, I guess maybe like, I don't know, what is it, like 40 feet or something? There's like 40 feet of our speed zone or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just yes, thank you for that. Was there any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Art. All right, that's everybody. That motion passes. And as with all advisement, it's just advisement. But I do hope that we'll have them in a more effective location. So we'll see what we can do. All right.
Advice taken, and we'll see if we can get that done for you.
All right. Thank you very
I
much.
promise it, because we got, like, everyone knows. with the staff
understand.
shortages, But I don't see there's a problem in moving those signs, but it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's the pipeline of all the things. I get it. All right. On to our next item. So this is maybe there's nothing to say about this, but I put these things on to try. I put this on to say this was one thing that was. Actually, I'm going to stop that sentence. I talked to Brian a couple weeks ago, and we decided all the things that were sort of vaguely up in the air in terms of projects. We are saying clean slate. We're bringing stuff new and saying, if we're going to do something, we're going to talk about it, plan to do it, and then make sure that we're tracking these things formally. This is on the agenda because I feel like it was so close to being done. And so the question I'm bringing up is just to say, we, I believe, acquired the rectangular rapid flashing beacon signs. They're someplace around, because Bill said where they were, I think, and then I can't remember. My hope is that we can figure out whether they're going to get installed at 2nd Avenue and North Main Street, which is the location that we had agreed on. So that's just a hey, what's up? Agenda item.
So I might advise you that they were in fact installed and have been in place since they arrived. I actually think they were installed in the 3rd week of November.
Yeah, right. So I asked if they were installed of someone else who was not here, but I couldn't get it in my brain. So the status is it's done, and I should stop worrying about it, basically.
Yes, that was completed.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a very chaotic, not having meetings, and things were weird. So thank you, Bill. We will take this one off of everyone's, what's it called? Mental agenda, to-do list. Wonder why I never see them, you expect to see them flash, right? Are they working?
They work. The intensity was much lower than I expected. And so when they're pushed by a pedestrian, they activate, and I believe they flash for 15 seconds. So it's not an extended period. But I was really surprised at the intensity. It didn't really grab me. And I made a point of pushing it and standing back to look at them, and they're not as intense as I expected.
All right. Well, that's learning. Go ahead, Alan.
Could it be solved by getting different lights, or is that an intensity issue with the actual energy going to the bulbs themselves?
So this is a feature of that specific brand, and so it's actually something that if we do a 2nd or 3rd rapid rectangular flashing beacon, we really want to look at that intensity number. So it's solar powered, and there's more than enough energy to be able to do this, particularly with our usage rates. It's the lamping that was selected by this manufacturer would be appropriate for a much more frequently used intersection and the lower intensity, say, battery. We'd rather use more battery and have more effect.
Could it be useful somewhere else if we got a brighter one, Okay, great. Well, since we've got our info, I don't need to belabor this one. Thanks for reminding me of a thing that happened like 6 months ago. All right. Next up, streets and sidewalks maintenance plan. Sadly, we do not have a hard copy version of this. Is there one, Brian? Like a document version of that?
I have not seen one, so, but I've only been here for.
All right.
So,
Well, if you didn't make it, then don't worry about it. That's so. I think that what we were looking for was saying like, what's what's on the schedule for for this season, like what kind of work is getting done. This came out of what the budget that's being put towards streets and sidewalks reconstruction. So we're just saying like, hey, what is that doing exactly? It came as a surprise. Oh,
On the city's website.
Bill.
If you look for the capital improvement plan, you'll find both the streets capital improvement plan and the water and sewer programs.
I think I have. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So it does have a listing, and I'm going to characterize it as an initial listing of what was planned. But I think Brian and Nicholas have found an opportunity to do more, and so I'll characterize it as out of date and.
Yeah. Well, I think we reviewed that those plans that are, and I don't know, it's easy. I could have forgotten them. It may have happened before last November. But I think that what we were hoping was to see what had what alterations were made so that we just knew what was what was coming up next. And part of the idea for that is to be able to say, as things come to the part where they're being executed on, hopefully we get there enough time beforehand to be able to say, well, are we considering all of the factors that we need to in doing this? And I'm glad that we had an opportunity, Brian and I, to talk briefly about some of the about the Allen Street paving. And so it's it's great for the committee to be able to get the that information about what's going on, so then we can know that the community goals are being served by the projects. Joanne, yes.
So the question that I had asked was, I understand that Nicholas is, that the city has been awarded additional monies for paving of the streets, and that Nicholas is going to be paving more of the Berry City streets, which Brian and his crew will be working on. And so that was really what I was interested in hearing about. There is a Facebook group called Berry Resident Chat, and there is a tremendous amount of conversation on that page about the condition of our streets, the potholes in our streets, when's everything going to get paved. We heard there was money. We thought something was going to happen. So the reason I was asking that question was so that A, we know what's going on and when, and B, we can start promoting that to the community because people are asking the question. And I do think that, generally speaking, Nicholas is doing a much better job at communicating what's going on in the city. He posts alerts regularly on Front Porch Forum. He posts them on the Facebook page for the city, and that's wonderful. And I pay attention to how many people are reading those and commenting and liking and so forth, which really increases readership. But I do think we still have a ways to go, particularly with respect to the things that have to do with the streets. So Brian, happy to meet you tonight for the first time. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I'm the big mouth. I'm the one who asks all the questions all the time and brings all of these things up all the time because I am kind of a bug about it. It's something I feel really passionate about. And even though I would not have chosen Hill Street to live on had I known, I absolutely love my home and I absolutely love my neighbors and I really love this city and I want us to be the best we can be. And so when I do ask these questions or when I do point these things out, it's towards that end that I have a goal. I have a goal in mind. I expect to live the rest of my life in this house. So I would like the city to be all the things that I want it to be: safe to walk in, people driving the right speed limit, and our streets to look halfway decent again. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
Okay, well,
So I wanted to know, when are we going to pave them? When are we going to be working on? Are we doing that now? Are we doing that next month? Are we doing that in August? I don't know these things. So that's why I wanted to hear when these things are scheduled to be done and when you think you'll be doing them.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, currently the guys are out working on River Street. To
Okay.
get that ready for pavement. There's two types of pavement where there's total street reconstructions where our guys will tear up the existing pavement, grade it, and then do it. And then also we'll just overlay streets. So we did a 2-year paving bid this year, and we went. I think Bill had what the capital plan sheets that Bill had mentioned. The first 2 years that are listed on the website were in that construction bid. So those got bid. The Fresh Coat Paving was the low contractor, and he's there, signed the bid, and are hoping they will start on River Street next week. And
So then, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that Nicholas and Don had come up with that extra additional money. So we have added streets in there. We kind of have picked the worst ones that we decided on. And I think there's still some more up for grabs, but we are deciding. I think Blackwell Street was one that was added in to be overlaid this year. And we are extending River Street all the way out to Blackwell for the overlay. We are concentrating on the additional overlays only because of our lack of staff. It's easier for them to just get the streets ready for overlay as to totally rebuild the streets. So that's where we're concentrating on. One update that I'm sure everyone will be eager. It's not really a good update, but it's coming. The Route 14 and 302 are Class 1 highways for the state of Vermont, and I've been in contact with the VTrans, and our streets are scheduled for 27 to be repaved, which is still 4 years out. But I am trying to got a calls in because probably the worst section that I've had complaints on so far has been that South Main Street around the corner past Cumberland Farms. And I've got a call into VTrans, yes, to get them out there to maybe if I can rattle some cages and get them to at least patch that area, that we can concentrate our work on somewhere else. So that's where we're at, and hopefully next week we can put some pavement down and keep moving ahead.
The question I was going to ask was, were you describing that the next 2 years of the like capital streets plan was what you were lumping in to do this year? So it was the schedule out to this year, next year. I forget which projects were in there, but if that's not what you're saying, then that I just wanted to try to make sure I understood.
Well, the current project that we bid was a 2-year cycle.
Oh, I see. So it's 2 year, right?
2 years to get it all done.
Makes sense. Yep.
Contractor would like to do as much this year as he possibly can. So we have added that in there. We're going to concentrate. What I did is I looked through the next years 3 through 5 that Bill had prepared, and we kind of pulled all the overlay streets up into this year, next year, and try to get those done. And then, use what money we've got delegated for this to try to get absolutely as much overlaid as we can. So that's where we pulled from what Bill had planned for the next 5 years, pulled all the overlay into these 2 years, and we're still going to be adding some more streets to that.
Well, that is great. Thank you. I wonder if it is possible for maybe not a schedule, but at least like a list of the things that are expected to be paved soon on the city website for people. But I don't know what's possible. Yeah.
We could do it. It's still kind of, especially with the state, that South Main Street is probably one of them that we really wanted to get fixed. So if we can get the state to do it, that frees up it to push it elsewhere.
Right.
But so that's the big one that's going to be would take up a good chunk of our money, but if we don't have to use it, we can definitely spread that out other places. So I can work on getting a list out there that we can kind of advertise, because I know Nicholas wants to get, he told me that when we're out there to get some good pictures, and he wants to promote some of the work that we're doing on Facebook and Front Porch Forum and whatnot. So we are aware of that, and I'll try to get a list here and pass it through you guys, but to get something on the website so we can let people know where we're headed in a direction.
That would be awesome. I'm sure people would appreciate it.
That's great.
Joanne, did you have something? Sorry.
I did, and it just like went completely out of my head. I forgot what it was. I don't know. If it comes back to me, I'll ask it again.
All right. Well, I feel like if anyone, unless anyone had any other questions about that, I feel like we received an update on.
I remembered what it was.
Oh, go for it.
I remember, Brian, is there anything that we can do as far as influencing the state? One of the things that organizers like to do is we like to write letters to influential people who make decisions. Is that something that you think might be helpful with respect to that stretch of down by Cumbies, getting the state to pay attention to that? If we all started sending letters to them?
I'm sure it wouldn't hurt. Probably our representatives are the first line in there. I've got some contacts with V-Trans that I'm reaching out to try to get them out there to look at it. And one of them that I've known for a number of years is in charge of asset management, who does the paving. And he's the one that told me that Barry was on the schedule for 2027 to get theirs redone. And that's so I'm reaching out to him, and probably if you reach out on the political side, it would be
state reps. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Love it.
All right. We can move on to our next item, which is thinking about striping and crossing. Now, I know that you said already that it's out there, it's happening. I'm curious about crosswalks. There's some pictures included in here of just the, tree. You know better than any of us what the current conditions of the paint on the roads are, but it's just in there as an illustration, I'll say. I also threw in a little thing from the San Francisco, I think it's their streets department. I forget what it's called, but it's part of their public works, I believe. But about the striping patterns, and hopefully, because there's ways to do it, they don't get worn off as much, is what I was thinking. So my question is, I guess, is what's the plan for getting paint for pedestrian crossings, especially in like the highly used areas?
I don't know if there's a good answer for that. You talk to anybody that does, I've talked with the people from the state and the different municipalities, and everyone has the same problem, that the paint just does not last. Even in the lower traffic areas, it seems to wear off just as fast as the high traffic areas. So I don't have a good, you see they do some of it with the thermal striping, and they last only for a certain number, and then they'll end up being bunched up in the side of the road somewhere. So
yeah, on our street, on our streets, the thermoplastic has lasted quite well from when it was installed, but as I understand, it's quite expensive.
Yes.
So, I think that it's important to get them, to get the crosswalks painted, even if it comes off. And that's, I think, the question, I think, is how do we do it in such a way that it's actually visible during the times of year when people are able to see the stripes. So when there's snow on the ground, it's very difficult to perceive them. And so I feel like that's why, it's important for them to be visible, during the time of year that you can actually see them. If what you're saying is there's not currently a plan to paint them, that is information that, it is an answer to the question that we were asking.
They are actively out there painting them now.
Okay, they're painting the crosswalks, is it?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Crosswalks, stripings, they're doing whatever they can. I think I mentioned before, like the cold mornings that we've had here, the paint doesn't stick, so they can't get started till 11 o'clock in the day, and so that's cutting back on what they can get going. But I know they were over on Air Street. I dropped my wife off to work that morning, and they were painting the crosswalk at the bottom of West Patterson.
That is fantastic.
So
I think I misheard you earlier, because I thought I in my brain you had just said the edge lines, but I realize now that you're talking about the crosswalks as well.
Yeah, I probably said line striping, but it was all the painting on the streets, whether it's
All right.
crosswalks or roads, but mostly the crosswalks are what they're painting.
Well, I really appreciate that. I think that it has a really big impact for the people who are using the streets. Yeah, and then the scheduling is just you do it as much as you can. Is that the idea? That like,
It's really, it could be a full-time job, because by the time they get through painting everything, the first ones have already worn off. So it's an ongoing project.
Thanks. One thing, and this is definitely not like an advisement from the committee in any way, but I think that it might be worthwhile to focus on the ones that are across the main streets. I recognize that it's like harder to actually do that work, but it's, generally those are the ones that are more necessary than the ones that are parallel to the main streets. But anyway, it is merely 2 cents from one guy.
And just
yes,
another
Joanne.
point, just another way talking about main streets, the crosswalks on Washington Street, in this general area, the Hill Street area, like Camp and Nelson and Patterson, where they dump out onto Washington, those are all invisible, as are the crosswalks on Hill Street. So I would think, given what the group of people came here tonight asking, if there's any way they could paint the crosswalks on Hill Street, that would be a really nice first step, showing them that we're listening and that we care.
Yeah, I don't know what they have for, a plan as far as, a map of the streets that they do, but they're out there, and I'll mention them, see when they are planning on doing that Hill Street, Camp Street area, and but we will maybe I can get them to prioritize that to at least make people see that we're doing something.
Yeah, I think that's a nice idea. All right, great. I hear you're talking in the room. You can say it loud enough for everyone, I guess is what I mean.
I was answering that it is city staff that Brian is referring to. It's not contract workers.
All right, great, thank you. Next up on our agenda is sidewalk inventory. This is very helpful. An intern with CVRPC, Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, did all of the sidewalk locations in all of the designated downtowns and village centers in the Central Vermont region. And so we have in the packet images of where the sidewalks are. But they also provide shape files. I asked him for them, and he gave them to me, so we can get those for GIS also. The value here is to look at what is our sidewalk network serving. Is it meeting the our like what do we need from the sidewalk network, and are there any gaps in it that we think are important to fill? And I recognize that doesn't change anything, right now, but this data is definitely something that helps us direct where do we want to put our, the sidewalk capital in the future. And really, it's just here for people to, to have for later. Unless somebody has something they want to say about it now. All right. Not hearing any of that. That is the last of our new business. Our our next meeting is scheduled for June 21st. Is that one that works for everybody? And as noted earlier, we will be doing that one remotely.
Joanne, do you have something to add?
I do. I had another
Oh, so-
question.
Yeah, I didn't see that your hand was up. I'm sorry.
That's
Go
all
ahead.
right. I had one more question. And Bill is here, so maybe he can answer this. I remember in the fall, we had talked about getting some of those things that stand in the middle of the crosswalk that say stop for pedestrian in crosswalk. And Bill, I thought I remembered you telling us maybe at the beginning of the year that those had arrived. And I haven't seen them anywhere, so I'm wondering, A, if they've arrived, and B, if there's any plan to get them out into the crosswalks, because that would be another really good thing we could do here in Hill Street, on Hill Street, in light of the people who joined this evening. Just thinking, and of
Let's-
course, in other places, because there's lots of crosswalks where I think we had talked about one in front of Tilden House needing something, and we were actually talking about putting a big barrel there or something.
Let's pause on this one for just a moment, because we can do it in roundtable, and because we're just about to agree to June 21st, and so works for everybody. All right, cool. That will be our next meeting. Now in roundtable, I understand there's a question about the installation of an approved pedestrian gateway treatment. Bill.
So we received some delineators, and the intention was not to put the barrel or necessarily the pedestrian crossing on the center line at Tilden House. They were going to be shoulder based. And the idea there was that in addition to the crosswalk, you'd have delineators, 2 of them on each edge of the crosswalk on each side of the street. And they would be not at the curb, but rather at the edge of the shoulder. And so what they do is they create a narrowing that really defines the crosswalk. And we had 4 delineators last fall. We didn't install them because you can't do winter operations. So that's something that I can talk with Brian about, and Brian can decide how soon we could do that. But they're basically a drilled base that's attached, and the delineator fits in it, and they're a visual identification of the crosswalk.
Right, I can provide the case study from, what was it, the Federal Highway Safety I forget whose case study it was, but I can send that to you, Brian. Does anyone else have anything for roundtable this evening?
Can I just come back to this point one more time? Because that's
Yeah.
not what we talked about. I remember bringing photographs of the things that sit in the middle of the cross in Montpelier. And my understanding from the meeting was that that's what we were talking about, not something that would be on the edges.
You
At the
are
side.
correct, and I think it will be evident from the case study document that I'll give to Brian.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Yeah, Art, go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
I have a comment about the paving.
Wait, about what, sorry?
If you pave, you will have more speeders. If you leave the potholes there, that's a traffic calmer.
Wait, is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah.
yeah. You're correct. That does happen. And I kind of love it also, but like my understanding is there's other consequences of not paving, right? I mean, doesn't it, like, potentially cause sinkholes and stuff? Like I don't know. This is where Brian, will step in and be like, "You're wrong,
Well,
Michael. You don't know anything about water." Yeah.
We get the, excuse me, the complaints of the potholes, and then we're gonna pave the street, and then we'll get the complaints that they're speeding too fast. So, I don't know what, it's a lesser of 2 evils, I guess, but
Yeah. I think Joanne's saying when we repave it, let's make it narrower. Is that what you're
Well,
saying? I know,
um,
it's easier said than done in a lot of cases.
It's easier
right?
said than done, because I don't think it's just the paving that will do that. You'd have to rebuild the street, the whole street, and we need more tax money for that.
Well, anybody else for roundtable? I feel like I had something that I wanted to share with you guys, but I don't have anything. Well, hey, look at that. We had a bunch of public comment and we still got to basically the end before 8 o'clock. If no one else has anything for roundtable, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll put a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I'll second it.
I'll give that one to Alan, I think. Yeah, all right. Alan is the second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We are adjourned. Have a very nice evening, and I will see you guys next month.